Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour. India's Voice to the World. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and Chinese counterpart Admiral Dong Jun hold bilateral talks on way ahead at sidelines of SCO meet in Qingdao. Iran denies Donald Trump's claim of nuclear negotiations progress, says no plans to hold talks, asserts Washington exaggerating US strike impact. EU leaders meet in Brussels to review new US trade proposals amid looming tariff deadlines. Grand Jagannath Rath Yatra begins in Odisha. Vibrant Hindu festival draws devotees from across the world. And in sports, India script history with hat-trick sweep at Asian Squash Doubles Championships, clinches men's, women's and mixed titles. A top story. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh held a bilateral meeting with his Chinese counterpart Admiral Dong Jun on the sidelines of Shanghai Cooperation Organization Defence Ministers meeting in Qingdao, China. The meeting, which was held on Thursday, focused on maintaining peace and tranquility along the Indo-China border. The minister acknowledged the work being undertaken by both sides to bring back semblance of normalcy in the bilateral relations, emphasizing the need for a structured roadmap to resolve complex issues through permanent engagement and de-escalation. Rajnath Singh also stressed on border management and to have a permanent solution of border demarcation by rejuvenating the established mechanism on the issue. The two ministers agreed to continue consultations at various levels to achieve progress on disengagement, de-escalation, border management and delimitation through existing mechanisms. Both sides also appreciated the resumption of Kailash Mansarovar Yatra after a gap of 5 years. Defence Minister presented a Madhubani painting from Bihar to his Chinese counterpart General Dong Jun during a meeting. This painting has its origins in Mithila region of Bihar. It is also known as Mithila or Madhubani art. Defence Minister also met other leaders on the sidelines of SCO Defence Ministers meet with Russian counterpart. Rajnath Singh held in-depth discussions on a range of subjects covering current geopolitical situations, cross-border terrorism and Indo-Russian defence cooperation. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh also held talks with leaders from Belarus, Tajikistan and Kazakhstan. And India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar supported Defence Minister Rajnath Singh's refusal to sign the Shanghai Cooperation Organization joint statement. Talking to media in New Delhi on Friday, Dr. Jaishankar said there was one country that did not want a reference to terrorism in the joint SCO document.
This Shanghai Cooperation Organization, its objective was to fight terrorism. Okay? So this organization exists to fight terrorism. So what happened was, when Rajnath ji went for a defence ministers meeting and there was a discussion on the outcome document, one country, you can guess which one country said that no, we do not want a reference to that. Now Rajnath ji's view rightly was that without that reference, when the main purpose of that organization is to fight terrorism and you are not allowing a reference to that, I am not prepared to accept it.
And for more perspective, we are joined by defence expert Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey. Welcome, General Pandey. Thanks for being on the show. First of all, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and Admiral Dong Jun, Chinese Defence Minister, met on the sidelines of the SCO summit. Tell us, how significant is this meeting in the context of recent India-China relations?
No, look, after good about nearly 4 to 5 years of impasse at Galwan, which happened, and thereafter what transpired. That is the first time I think ever in life, ever in the Chinese history. The Chinese have blinked first, and thereafter they stepped forward for resolution of the problem, and thereafter their withdrawal and all started on the border. I think the approach which the Indian government has taken of being upfront and not giving up. You know, we used to generally we used to first withdraw and thereafter get into talks. But here this time, the Indian government was quite firm that first we need to resolve the issue on the border, and there should be a pushback from the borders from the LAC, and thereafter only we will have some semblance of talks. Although I think that happened was very important. But what is more important is that while the Chinese have been strident, but currently there are a couple of factors which is happening that the Chinese have got challenges inside in their own country.
Yeah.
There is a slowdown in the economy. There is a manufacturing things are moving outside the country, and more importantly, this trade war which has been started with the Americans, with the new dispensation having come under Donald Trump, has put them into one corner. So this warmth which they are showing today during the border talks and engagements and all is of course welcome. Yeah, of course it is
And
welcome. But then there is a glitch which happened in the SEO which we can talk later on.
General Pandey, looking ahead, what concrete steps can both nations, you think, take to translate these constructive talks into lasting peace and cooperation?
Yeah. So you know this line is a very standard for diplomatic line which happens, but the proof of the pudding will be only once we see a changed behavior on the borders, while they keep on focusing on other matters of relationship which are based on trade and cultural ties and rest everything. But right now, very important is that the de-escalation has had the situation has de-escalated, but disengagement has to take firmly in form of exchange of maps, the exact location, what are the aspirations. It will take some long while to happen. But the soft power which is happening, the engagement which is happening with Kailash Mansarovar Yatra starting this time. One is already ongoing, and the second one is happening in August, I am told. So it's a very major thing. This outreach has happened from the Chinese because possibly the Indian government had taken a very firm decision that the bilateral relations will be stabilized or will be progressed only when the peace is at the on the border of the line of actual control.
General Pandey, I mean, if you see the holistic view, constructive talks were held with China, the SCO bilateral talks were held with Russia also, but the joint declaration was not signed at the SCO. India stood firm on its stance against terrorism. How would you sum up India's approach and also the outcomes at this year's SCO ministerial meeting?
You know, I think it is reflective of the current stature of our country.
Yes.
A lot of people are talking about this being a very diplomatic major setback, but I don't think so. I believe that India has generally not stepped up and said, okay, I don't agree, we don't agree, and thereafter they have not signed. It is a consensus-based document in which all countries have to believe, have to endorse their views, and then only this declaration is valid. So when India has stayed firm, and generally, you know, if you recall in the history, we would adapt, adjust. But I was very pleased when I saw Rajnath Singh ji, our defense minister, putting his pen down and taking a call, and thereafter saying, no, I'm not going to sign this document. Right? It is very important also, please, to understand that there is the Chinese will keep on engaging us with positively, but they will always have an underhand agenda which will be end of play. If you recall, 2017, India was invited to be the member of SCO. Again, that point of time, Pakistan was brought in by the Chinese insistence that in 2017, if India is coming, the Chinese, the Pakistani should be also on the table. While this is a very important counter-terrorism forum, at this stage when Pahalgam happened, right? And Pahalgam was the trail of a foreign-backed foreign terrorist in this entire event, including a possibility of an ex-SSG trained commando being involved from Pakistan, was clearly established, right? And then not including Pahalgam in the statement and trying to equate it or bring it down below Balochistan, which is an indigenous movement of for their sovereignty, for their independence. Because if you recall, in 1947, the Kalat, the king of Kalat, and Balochis have never signed the accession document or the agreement. So this being equated, and when you add the incident of the Baloch, what you call hijacking of the train, the Jafar Express, and not including the Pahalgam incident, was a clear sleight of hand.
Yeah.
They thought that India, like previous years, is just going to be pushed over in form of nicety, will sign the document. If we had signed this document, this would have gone a major shift on acceptance that Pahalgam was not a terror strike, which was actually foreign supported, foreign based, and and also it would have possibly been seen that what happened in Balochistan was a terror attack, which I don't think so. Right? I think it's very, very important that what Mr. Rajnath Singh, Shri Rajnath Singh ji have done, not having signed this document is very important, and send the message in this 10-member forum, in which, by the way, most of the countries are afflicted by terrorism.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And strong words also, General Pandey, were used by Rajnath Singh, and we were showing our viewers through graphics also what all he said. But General Pandey, how will this strong stance play out in India's global positioning? Can this message strengthen India's international credibility as a consistent voice against terror?
You see, what is going to happen that in today's geopolitical environment, there are no permanent alliances and this thing. There are only a couple of iron brothers in terms of Pakistan and China and such like, So in this, as India's stature grows, we are already the fourth economic power. We are pretty high in our military powerhouse and, our defense expenditure. Overall growth of India as a country being recognized by the global south and everything is emerging, which is also not going to be friction free, right? So as we emerge, there will be issues and challenges will happen in form of such transactions will happen with China, with Pakistan and some other world powers who may not be very happy. But largely, if you look at the world, it is very, very happy with India's growing stature and the way India is conducting and behaving with the rest of the world. So I think this this emphatic statement by now signing the SU declaration and not allowing to be passed or declared is sending a message to the world as well that we will not allow an act of terror being called out as an act of terror. It may be on our soil or it may be anywhere in the world, right? So terror and talks, trade and terror will not go together. And when countries come up and they show that they got a spine on such forums, it is very, very important. It improves their stature and acceptance on the world high table.
Yes, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also said the same thing. But last question before we wind up, General Pandey, with the evolving geopolitical landscape, especially in Central Asia, what role you think can India play in shaping SCO's future agenda to ensure regional stability and also economic growth?
This we unfortunately can't dictate our neighbors. They say that neighbors can't be decided. We have to inherit it. This thing.
Right.
We are in a very, very volatile subcontinent, particularly in the region because of certain reasons. Okay, maybe too much of a population. There's an issue of migration. There's a effect of climate which is happening. People are moving out, especially into our country for a better future. Our proximate neighborhood, their economic stability, their internal stability, their institutions are fractured. They're not fractured today, they were always fractured. So India brings that stability in the region in terms of growing economic power, very, very important military power in the region. It also reflects with a great democratic institutions to the neighboring countries and not to the leadership, but surely to the people and the population that India, which is such a mix of variety of type of people, multi-ethnic, multi-linguistic. There are so many issues, but it can continue to be on the path of progress.
Yeah.
Right. This can be showcased to these countries like Myanmar, particularly Myanmar, which has been always fractured because of external interferences, and of course there are internal challenges. Bangladesh, which was generally a very, very stable till the recent time because of the Deep State Act, the government got changed, and look at the cess. Look at the cess, the problem it has landed up in last about just about a year worth. Pakistan's status, we very well know that the military is controlling this entire country, and there is no say of the population. Sri Lanka had a major debt crisis in the recent time, but Nepal, Bhutan are yet an islands of certain degree of stability in the region. So I think India, when it comes out, it projects its cultural, economic, social heft in the region. Eventually, in the long term, the entire subcontinent and the people in the region will benefit. It will be possibly towards the west because Pakistan, being an artificial country, was raised on a premise of two-nation theory. We may not be able to achieve a certain degree of stability and break the impasse. But when you look beyond Pakistan towards Afghanistan and other countries in Central Asian Republic, the engagement which is happening in terms of trade, economic and cultural level, more importantly also in the level of military engagements, will ensure certain degree of stability, and we may be able to lead with example. Please understand that the bigger power, which is the China in the subcontinent, not to us in Asia, which wants to have a bipolar or multipolar world in which it's competing with America, but in the region, in Asia, it wants a multipolar world in which everybody works at the behest and beck and call of China. They are supposed to be, it's supposed to be a unipolar thing. But the way it is controlled, it is more authoritarian. There is no voice for the people. There are other major challenges which are happening in China. India comes out, Bharat comes out, a very, very reasonable place, a country, a territorial area in which other countries, not only of the region but of the world, have to look forward to engage with, and they are doing so in past couple of years.
All right, very rightly said, General Pandey. We are running short of time. We'll leave it at that. Thank you for sharing your insights. Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Colombia's Constitutional Court halts Electoral Court's investigation into President Petro. Congo and Rwanda to sign a peace deal in Washington, likely to end years of conflict with roots in Rwanda's 1994 genocide. US and Guatemala signed joint security agreement to strengthen capabilities against transnational threats.
The US launched a bombing campaign against Iran. The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you.
That's exactly what save your country.
You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the dots at these times with me, only on DD.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. Iran has denied any meeting with the United States on nuclear talks next week and accused Washington of exaggerating the impact of US strikes. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said that no arrangement or commitment was made to resume negotiations with the United States. In an interview on state TV, Araghchi said that the possibility of restarting talks would depend on whether Tehran's national interests were protected following previous rounds of negotiations that were cut short by Israel and the US attacking Iranian nuclear facilities.
No agreement has been made to resume negotiations now. I am stating clearly that no agreement has been made. No promise has been made, nor have we talked at all about restarting negotiations. But the fact that we are examining among ourselves what is in the interest of the Iranian people is another discussion. So far, there has been no agreement, no subject for negotiation.
And US President Donald Trump had said on Wednesday that the US and Iran would meet next week, describing the recent Pentagon strikes on Iranian nuclear sites as a success. And European Union leaders met in Brussels on Thursday to review fresh US proposals for a potential trade deal. With the July 9 deadline approaching to avoid increased US tariffs threatened by President Donald Trump, EU nations are under pressure to find a united stance. The proposed tariffs could significantly hurt major European exporters, including the auto and pharmaceutical industries. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen confirmed that the EU had received a new draft from the US and was still evaluating it. She cautioned that there's a risk the negotiations could fail, emphasizing that all options remain on the table.
So our message today is clear. We are ready for a deal. At the same time, we are preparing for the possibility that no satisfactory agreement is reached. This is why we consulted on a rebalancing list, and we will defend the European interest as needed. In short, all options remain on the table.
The leaders were divided on whether to accelerate a deal or hold out for better terms. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz advocated for a quick and simple agreement, warning against unnecessary delays. He also expressed general support for finalizing the Mercosur deal with South America.
Ich habe deswegen auch mit den Kollegen zusammen gesagt, lass uns jetzt bitte schnell zu einer Lösung kommen. Ich habe unter anderem auch auf einzelne Industrien hingewiesen, die wir in Deutschland haben, die chemische Industrie, die pharmazeutische Industrie, der Maschinenbau, Stahl, Aluminium, Automobilindustrie, die werden zurzeit alle mit so hohen Zöllen belastet, dass das die Unternehmen wirklich gefährdet und deswegen lieber jetzt schnell und einfach als langsam und hochkompliziert. Wir müssen jetzt schnell zu einem Ergebnis kommen. Und darüber sind wir uns auch alle einig gewesen, da gibt es überhaupt keinen Dissens.
However, French President Emmanuel Macron disagreed, saying he could not endorse the Mercosur agreement in its present form. Macron, while in favor of a pragmatic and timely US trade deal, insisted that any agreement must be fair and balanced.
Mon souhait, c'est que nous concluions rapidement, ce qui marque, et je peux le dire ici, il y a une vraie volonté des Européens et une bonne volonté de conclure. Mais cette bonne volonté ne doit pas être vue comme une faiblesse. Nous voulons conclure rapidement parce que c'est notre intérêt collectif et c'est bon pour la stabilité du commerce international et pour nos entreprises, mais on ne veut pas conclure vite à tout prix.
Now, US President Donald Trump said on Thursday that America has signed a deal with China. Trump made the remarks while speaking at the Big Beautiful Bill event. After talks in Geneva in May, Washington and Beijing had agreed to temporarily lower steep tit-for-tat tariffs on each other's products. China also committed to easing some non-tariff countermeasures, but US officials later accused Beijing of violating the pact and slow-walking export license approvals for rare earths. Both sides eventually agreed on a framework to move forward with their Geneva consensus following talks in London this month. And the White House also indicated that Washington could extend a July deadline when steeper tariffs impacting dozens of economies are due to kick in. That pause is set to expire on July 9.
The deadline is not critical. The president can simply provide these countries with a deal if they refuse to make us one by the deadline, and that means the president can pick a reciprocal tariff rate that he believes is advantageous for the United States and for the American worker, and he will continue to do that. But as for the deals, our United States Trade Ambassador, Jameson Greer, I speak to him frequently. He's working very hard, and he has had very good and productive discussions with many of our key trading partners.
All right, DD India's Akshay Dongre joins us for more from the newsroom. Akshay, first of all, can you give us a quick overview of what the new US proposals entail and the outcome of the EU meeting?
Well, the outcome of the European Union meeting is quite crucial as far as the possibility and the prospects of any trade deal with the US is concerned, because what we are seeing, the US has said that while the deadline is approaching of 9th of July, but it can be extended if there is some positive thing that comes out of the meeting, if there is something that positive comes out of the negotiations. However, if you look at the European Union, there are certain fissures that have started to appear as far as a united front that was quite required for a strong trade deal is concerned. So while the German Chancellor has said that the trade deal should not be long and complicated, it should be quick and easy, the French President Emmanuel Macron has clearly said that we must evaluate the trade deal, and if it's not balanced, then we may not go ahead with the deal. It's either a long and complicated, well thought trade deal that also balances everything, that also balances the interest of both the European Union and the US, whereas one side of the European Union countries is more leaning towards rather a quick and a fast deal so that business can start instead of getting delayed for years and years. So that is one front that has been showing some sort of differences of opinion, whereas the chief of the European Union has said that the option should always be on the table that the tariff deal will not work. So that also has to be there in the back of the mind in the countries of the European Union, that trade talks may fail. So you have to be prepared in that aspect as well. So while we are seeing some of these fractures appearing just ahead of the trade deals, what we can expect is both sides will concede certain things. However, if the US is not willing to let go of the 10% baseline, then there is on goods coming in from the European Union, then there will be a reciprocal tariff implemented on the US goods as well. That will be of equal footing. So there is tension that remains. The trade deal is quite essential for the European Union as well as the US economy and the people of the two continents, the European continent as well as the US, as far as the traders are concerned, as well as manufacturers, especially in pharmaceutical sector, in automobile sector. So these can come under hammer if the trade talks fail, and then there can be alternate trading partners both sides can be looking at. The eyes of the global trade community especially is on the trade talks between the European Union and the US, and it remains to be seen that what is going to be what will be the result of the trade talks when they finally happen on 9th of July.
But tensions do remain. Akshay, talking about the deadline, further negotiations you think are likely to happen ahead of that deadline, which is July 9th, and a lot to be expected, like you said, in the coming weeks or months?
Yes. Well, yes, a lot to be expected, because it's not just the European Union. Then if you go out of the European Union, there are other countries such as China, where the US is claiming that a trade deal has been done, but the kind of language that is being used, that the US, these kind of tariffs and the negotiation is going to open up China. Then there was a claim that was made by the US president that he also wants to open up India when it comes to trade, and there is going to be a trade deal coming in very soon. So these kind of unilateral discussions, unilateral statements that are coming in certainly impact the trade deal. Now, whether it is being done on purpose to build some sort of pressure, or it's being done in a casual manner, that remains to be seen. But earlier as well, we have seen that tall promises were made, and big claims were also made, but then they were not followed by equal amount of actions. That has led to a sort of a trust deficit in the trading partners of the US. So that is going to be quite an important thing to be monitored. But when you talk about the European European Union and the US trade deal, trade talks, and the deadline of 9th of July, there have been indications, or rather there are indications from the US side that it can be extended, because even US realizes that there are a lot of countries in the European Union. To bring a consensus, it's going to take quite a lot of time, and as fissures are appearing, to bring everyone on table, it is going to take some time, and it may extend the 9th July deadline that has been set by the US.
Absolutely, it may take some time, and yes, I mean, negotiations are likely to happen, and the next few weeks will be very crucial. But Akshay, broadly speaking, how does this potential trade deal fit into the wider geopolitical relationship between the US and the EU?
Well, Abhishek, if you look at the US economy, it was a very, very dominant financial power for the rest of the world. It was an economic powerhouse which was not afraid of doing business, even opening up its economy for the rest of the world. It was the strength of the US economy. It was a show of strength as well, that US is doing business, even though other countries are putting some sort of tariffs on the US goods. It's not US wasn't afraid to put any kind of tariff. And it was an open economy for even reciprocal tariffs. But now, as we are seeing, other economies are growing. The Chinese economy, the Indian economy, economies in the European Union. So US has to is rather forced to do some sort of balancing or some sort of realignment of its economic policies, and that includes bringing in more tariffs. Because if this thing continues, it was fine till the time the other economies of the rest of the world were much smaller in comparison, and they could never compete with the US economy when it comes to manufacturing power or in other aspects. But now, as other economies grow, they become a bigger and bigger competitor to the US economy. So it is important for the US also to realign its own policies in its own favor. But that also signs towards a declining US hegemony as far as its economic powerhouse, its market is concerned. And as other economies grow, there can be more of these kind of tensions with the US especially. So it remains to be seen that what exactly comes out of this, because when you talk about the European Union, it's also evaluating other options of other larger growing economies like the Indian economy. There are countries that are opting for free trade agreements with the Indian economy in the European Union. Even outside, they are evaluating the prospects of other kind of agreements with the Chinese economy, the Indian economy, other economies in Southeast Asia and in other parts of the world. So the hegemonies the US is losing its own hegemony, and when it comes to its market and its consumer base, purchasing power parity, its GDP. So all of those aspects are now more or less getting overwhelmed by the growth of the rest of the world. So it's all but natural that it has to be done in this manner. But the way it has been portrayed and the way it has been done, that is questioned around the world, and that is going to be questioned till the time final negotiation take place and deals are signed with the European Union, with India, with China and other countries as well.
All right, Akshay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs. Recently, at the US-Africa Business Summit in Luanda, US Ambassador Troy Fitwell has dismissed claims of unfair trade practices. While addressing African Union concerns over proposed US tariffs and visa restrictions, the US envoy has clarified that no visa ban exists despite shorter visa durations due to overstay concerns. Envoy has reaffirmed US commitment to the Lobito Corridor Railway linking Angola, Zambia and the DRC, crucial for copper exports and regional integration. Angolan President João Lourenço urged a shift from aid to investment, eyeing sectors like automotive and tourism. Now, Guatemala and the United States signed a joint security partnership agreement aimed at strengthening capabilities against transnational threats on Thursday. U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem and Guatemalan Minister of Governance Francisco Jimenez announced the cooperation deal. The agreement includes enhanced operational and logistical collaboration to combat illicit trafficking, implementation of anti-narcotics border patrols, and the reactivation of joint Army National Civil Police patrols, particularly in border areas. The deal focuses on combating illicit trafficking networks and enhancing operational and logistical capabilities between both the countries. Now, Colombia's Constitutional Court halted an electoral court's investigation into President Gustavo Petro. The court ruled that only the House of Representatives can investigate Petro over alleged irregularities in the financing of his 2022 campaign, effectively ending the electoral court's proceedings. The outcome of the investigation could result in fines against some campaign staffers, including its auditors, treasurer and manager. It can't lead to an immediate impeachment of the president. No president in Colombia has been removed from office in a political trial in Congress in the last 30 years. And following a diplomatic push by the United States, Congo and Rwanda is likely to sign a peace deal in Washington on Friday. The agreement aims to attract Western investment to the two countries' mining sectors. Rwanda has sent at least 7,000 soldiers over the border in support of the M23 rebels who seized eastern Congo's two largest cities and lucrative mining areas earlier this year. However, Rwanda has long denied providing arms and troops to M23 and says it is acting in self-defense. Now, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar attended the inaugural session of mock parliament organized by the Bharatiya Janata Yuva Morcha in New Delhi to mark 50 years since the emergency was declared in 1975. Speaking on the occasion, Minister Jaishankar emphasized the need of discussing and debating the dark chapter of emergency, noting that the period was a reminder of how democracy is in India's DNA.
जो रेजिस्टेंस जो सोसाइटल रेजिस्टेंस जो थी इमरजेंसी के खिलाफ, उसके कारण 77 का चुनाव। और मैं कहूँगा कि इमरजेंसी से ये साबित हुआ कि डेमोक्रेसी जो है हम लोगों के खून में है, हमारे डीएनए में है, और हम किसी भी हालत में हमारी जो डेमोक्रेसी जो है, जो फ्रीडम जो है, जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन जो है, इसको हम भारत की जनता हर समय इसकी सुरक्षा करेगी, कोई खोने के लिए तैयार नहीं।
The emergency in India from 1975 to 1977 was a period when then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi declared a nationwide state of emergency. During this time, numerous excesses took place. Two queens, once hailed by millions, found themselves behind bars not for crimes but for commanding love and loyalty. Our next report has the details.
During the 21 months of the emergency in India, a dark chapter of repression was written. The then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's government spared no one, whether commoners or the elite. Among those targeted were two royal figures from prominent dynasties, Maharani Vijayaraje Scindia of the Gwalior royal family and Maharani Gayatri Devi of the Jaipur royal family. They were revered as Rajmata or Queen Mother even after India's independence. But this respect and widespread popularity were perhaps deeply resented by Indira Gandhi. That is why, during the emergency, her government unleashed its wrath upon both of them. Maharani Gayatri Devi. Her beauty and grace were renowned not only in India but across the world. International Vogue magazine even included her in its list of the most beautiful women in the world. Maharani Gayatri Devi commanded immense respect and had a following in millions. But the emergency became a dark and painful chapter in her life. At the time the emergency was declared, she was a sitting member of parliament from Jaipur. She was unwell and undergoing treatment in Mumbai. Yet, that did not stop the Indira Gandhi government from falsely accusing her of smuggling and arresting her. The persecution did not end there. Her son, Colonel Bhavani Singh, was also handcuffed and taken into custody. This was the same Colonel Bhavani Singh who had led a unit of the Indian Army during the 1971 war, capturing 3 Pakistani cities and hoisting the Indian tricolour over them. For this act of bravery, he was awarded the Mahavir Chakra. Yet, he was arrested simply because he was found in possession of $10, which under Indira Gandhi's emergency were deemed illegal foreign currency. Both Maharani Gayatri Devi and Colonel Bhavani Singh were imprisoned in Tihar jail, confined to dark, foul-smelling cells. A similar fate befell to Rajmata Vijayaraje Scindia of the Gwalior royal family, a prominent leader of the Bharatiya Janasangh. At the time, she enjoyed soaring popularity and was a sitting member of parliament. This became intolerable for Indira Gandhi's government. Within just 15 days of the emergency, Rajmata was arrested from her palace in Gwalior on fabricated charges of possessing illegal gold. Days later, she was sent to Delhi's Tihar jail, where she was confined to the same cell as Maharani Gayatri Devi. The two queens, once accustomed to luxurious living, were now treated like ordinary criminals, forced to endure deplorable conditions. Rajmata Vijayaraje Scindia recounted this harrowing experience in her autobiography, Rajpath se Lokpath Par, in the following words.
Gayatri Devi and I had to use the same toilet, which had no tap, just a pit in the ground. A sweeper would occasionally pour in a couple of buckets of water. Filth was piled up all around Tihar jail, making the air perpetually foul. While eating, we had to constantly wave away flies from our plates. As evening fell, the flies would sleep and the mosquitoes would awaken. The constant hum of insects filled our ears. Life became unbearable. And yet, we were at peace. But what about Indira Gandhi, who once breathed freely in open air? Was she at peace? Even in broad daylight, she was seeing stars.
While both these royal women were locked behind bars, their palaces in Jaipur and Gwalior were simultaneously raided by government officials. Believing hidden treasures were concealed within, officials ordered their palaces to be dug up. Vijayaraje Scindia alleged that Indira Gandhi wanted to seize her entire estate. She also claimed that several precious gold items were stolen from her palace during the raids, items that were never recovered. What Rajmata Vijayaraje Scindia and Maharani Gayatri Devi endured during the emergency stands as one of the starkest examples of political and personal vendetta in Indian history. Bureau Report, DD India.
And the annual Jagannath Rath Yatra began today in Puri in the eastern Indian state of Odisha. It is a vibrant Hindu festival that draws devotees from across the world. So these are the visuals that we are showing you of the annual Jagannath Yatra in Odisha. For 9 days, millions witness Lord Jagannath, Balbhadra and Subhadra's journey from Jagannath temple to Gundicha temple in a massive ornate wooden chariot symbolizing a visit to their aunt's abode. So these are the live visuals that we are showing you. The atmosphere there in eastern Indian state of Odisha holds a lot of significance. Millions of devotees gathered there to witness the Rath Yatra of Lord Jagannath. Special arrangements have been made by the Odisha government and also the temple administration to control the crowd. There is a lot of security also given the scale of the event. Vibrant processions, music and unity marks the sacred event. This is the annual Rath Yatra and holds a lot of significance. President Murmu, Prime Minister Modi, Home Minister Amit Shah also extend greetings on the Rath Yatra and holds a spiritual symbolism also. These are the visuals. We are getting you live from that place, which is Puri Odisha. The chariots are drawn by a multitude of devotees. Pulling the chariots is believed to cleanse sins and grant spiritual liberation. The festival will be concluding with the Bahuda Yatra on the 5th July. The festival embodies devotion, cultural heritage and communal harmony. And the Yatra transcends religious boundaries, inviting people of all faiths to participate, embodying equality and unity. Pulling the chariots is considered a sacred act believed to absolve sins and grant moksha or spiritual liberation. The festival also showcases Odisha's art, music and dance, with devotees chanting hymns like Jai Jagannath and performing traditional rituals. This sacred festival, steeped in history and devotion, remains a testament to India's spiritual and cultural heritage, uniting millions in celebration. And President Draupadi Murmu extended her wishes on the annual Jagannath Rath Yatra. This is what she wrote on X. On the occasion of sacred Rath Yatra, I extend my heartfelt greetings to the devotees of Lord Jagannath residing in India and abroad. Millions of devotees attain a divine experience by having the darshan of the revered deities Balbhadra, Lord Sri Jagannath, Goddess Subhadra and Chakraraj Sudarshan seated on the chariot. The human-like divine play of these godly forms is the speciality of the Rath Yatra. On this auspicious occasion, my prayer to Lord Sri Jagannath is that an atmosphere of peace, friendship and affection prevails throughout the world." Unquote. Prime Minister Modi also extended his greetings on the occasion of the Holy Rath Yatra. The Prime Minister posted a video to mark the occasion. On the auspicious occasion of Rath Yatra, Home Minister Amit Shah participated in the Mangal Aarti at the Sri Jagannath Temple in Gujarat's Ahmedabad. He described it on X as a divine and extraordinary experience. After offering his prayers at the temple, the minister also extended greetings to the nation via an X post. Vibrant celebrations filled Digha's Jagannath Temple in West Bengal as devotees joined the Jagannath Rath Yatra. With fervent chants, they pulled the grand chariots of Lord Jagannath, Balbhadra and Subhadra through crowded streets. Colourful processions, traditional music and shared devotion created an atmosphere of unity, joy and spiritual reverence. Updates on Operation Sindhu now. A special evacuation flight from Armenia carrying 173 Indian nationals living in Iran landed in the national capital late Thursday evening. Evacuees expressed gratitude to the government for bringing them back safely to India. A total of 4,415 Indian nationals have been evacuated so far under Operation Sindhu. 3,597 Indians evacuated from Iran, while 818 others evacuated from Israel using 19 special evacuation flights, including 3 IAF aircraft. 14 overseas citizenship of India cardholders, 9 Nepalese nationals, 4 Sri Lankan nationals and 1 Iranian spouse of an Indian national were also evacuated from Iran. And India's President Draupadi Murmu addressed the International MSME Day 2025 Udyami Bharat, organized by the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises in New Delhi. Addressing the event, President Murmu said the government is encouraging a culture of startups and innovation. She added, promoting green technology in the MSME sector has become essential today.
MSME सेक्टर में ग्रीन टेक्नोलॉजी का बढ़ावा देना समय की मांग है। इससे न केवल एमएसएमई की सस्टेनेबिलिटी एंड कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस बढ़ेगी, बल्कि देश को क्लाइमेट संबंधी लक्ष्यों को प्राप्त करने भी सहायता मिलेगी। MSMEs के सस्टेनेबिलिटी के लिए इनोवेशन बहुत जरूरी है। सरकार विभिन्न माध्यमों से स्टार्टअप और इनोवेशन की संस्कृति को बढ़ावा दे रही है। DRDO जैसे संस्थानों द्वारा MSMEs को टेक्नोलॉजी ट्रांसफर, इनोवेशन और रिसर्च के लिए फंड जैसे सहायता दी जा रही है, जिससे वे रक्षा और एयरस्पेस के क्षेत्रों में योगदान दे सकें।
India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman chaired a meeting with the heads of public sector banks on Friday in New Delhi. The meeting was held to review the financial performance of the public sector banks and progress of various government flagship schemes. This was the first review meeting after the Reserve Bank of India earlier this month carried out a policy rate cut of 50 basis points. Sports updates now. We'll start with badminton. Young Indian shuttlers Ayush Shetty and Tanvi Sharma advanced to the quarterfinals of the 2025 US Open Super 300 tournament. Ayush Shetty defeated compatriot Tarun Manipalli in a tight 3-game second-round match. Meanwhile, Tanvi Sharma pulled off a major upset at the US Open, defeating former junior world champion Pichamon Upaniput. Currently ranked 2 in the BWF junior rankings, Tanvi is set to lead India's women's singles challenge at the 2025 Badminton Asian Junior Championships. Squash now. India scripted history at the ongoing Asian Squash Doubles Championship in Kuala Lumpur, securing top podium finish in all 3 categories: men's, women's and mixed doubles. The top seed men's pair of Abhay Singh and Velavan Senthil Kumar beat their Pakistani opponents Noor Zaman and Nasir Iqbal in the summit clash. In the women's doubles final, second seed Joshna Chinappa and Anahat Singh outplayed Malaysia's Aina Amani and Yi Zhen Ying in the title clash. The top seed mixed doubles pair of Abhay and Anahat made it a clean sweep of titles for India as they beat Malaysia's Rachel Arnold and Amishan Raj Chandran 2-0 in the summit showdown. And India's frontline cleanliness warriors will take centre stage in the upcoming edition of the nationwide Fit India Sundays on Cycle campaign on June 29. Sports Minister of India Dr. Mansukh Mandavia stated that this edition will be particularly meaningful as Swachhata Senanis will come together to uphold the essence of nationwide cycling drive. The Sports Minister urged all municipal bodies and urban local bodies across states to replicate the event in their own regions, ensuring maximum participation. Launched in December last year to promote fitness and health, the Fit India Cycling Drive has since evolved into a national movement. And with just one match day left of the group stages, most clubs are preparing for the knockout rounds of the inaugural FIFA Club World Cup. Despite of a poor run recently, Messi's Inter Miami fought against all odds and qualified for the last 16 stage. Inter Miami will have to dig deep as they will face Champions League winners PSG in round of 16 on Sunday. Elsewhere, Bayern Munich will be looking to bounce back from a disappointing 1-0 defeat to Benfica. The German Giants will take on an unbeaten Flamengo side who topped Group D after beating Chelsea 3-1. Meanwhile, Borussia Dortmund will meet Group E runners-up Monterrey in the knockouts. And surrounded by smiling students, dance pioneer Germain Akokni leads a masterclass at a school on the Senegalese coast, inspiring new generations with a pioneering work in African contemporary dance. Wesley Ruzivisa, a dance teacher, praises Akokni's impact, saying she restored pride and helped African dancers appreciate their rich cultural heritage through their work. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.